Hey everyone, Cody with Meco Reptiles here. We are doing another assembly video. I'm just going to walk you through how you assemble a 16 by 16 by 23. These instructions are going to be the same for basically any of our Arboreal units, but we'll walk you through how all this goes. So when you open up your package and get everything out, you see you have a front which has the opening. We have two bottom, or one bottom and a top, which are identical. We have a back that has the slots in it, and then of course the cord slots there, and then you have your acrylic, which we've actually peeled part of it already, and then the two sides that'll have the dados or the rabbits down each side. Okay, so here is how we're going to do it. You are going to start, so I feel it's better to start with the front. Let's get the hinges and stuff installed, and I'll show you how you do that. So your hinges comes with these pep nuts, and then what I do, so you slide the hinge through. This is a 7mm. You can get them started by finger or by hand, and then use a nut driver or a socket. I use a electric impact because I just go very gentle, and I build quite a few of these. But same thing for both. So we're actually going to get the two hinges installed to the face before we install. Yeah, so that's the first step. All right, so next step. Now with the acrylic front, this one happens to be going somewhere, so we're going to leave it partially wrapped, but on yours you can just unwrap it entirely. We just exposed this, but like I said, you can unwrap yours entirely. So you put your acrylic in the direction it needs to be, and then you're just going to start these guys by hand, just kind of get them going. So only a thread, not wanting to tighten them down right now because we're going to have to adjust this door to make sure that it opens and closes properly. So these have adjustment built into them. You'll notice I center it. And then what I do is I just bring it to the edge of my table that I'm working on, and I just give each of the sides a little tighten. And then if I open it, I've got two more that I can tighten. It's very important that you're working on a hard surface, hard and flat, like a table. Try not to do this on carpet, it becomes very frustrating. So I'm just going to place that there. Now we're going to grab a bottom panel, which is the same as the top panel, but that's what we're grabbing. So you'll notice that there is these rabbits all the way around, or some call them dados. They're actually a rabbited edge, and then this as well has it on the two sides. You're actually going to align it so that the rabbited edge fits, or the side fits within the rabbited edge. This is now going to sit flush at the top and flush on the side. So you want to take your time making sure the alignment is on point. The better job you do of aligning it, the nicer it's going to look when it's assembled. So that's one side. The other side, identical part. We're going to put it on this side. So, and then the same thing, we're going to put in the screws from the bottom. Just line it up, make sure it's nice and flush. And you can use a regular screwdriver. You can use a drill, which is what I'm using right now, and a number 2 Roberts bit, or a number 2 square. If you're using a drill, make sure you don't over tighten it because PVC core is soft, so you can strip it. So just take your time, maybe dial back your setting on your drill if you're not comfortable. Anyways, just like so. So now, bottom and two sides. So now we're going to take the back, we're going to place it in here, which is going to align with the bottom rabbit, and now with the side, the rabbiting on the sides as well. Now, it is important to note that when you're putting these in, to make sure that it's all the way down at the bottom. If you have it in properly, the top of this goes flush. It should not protrude above, it should not sit below. Make sure it's nice and flush there. Align your back as you go down. So in this one I have 4 screws on each side that are holding it in. But again, that depends on the model. This one happens to be 4 screws per side. And notice that everything is pre-drilled. I'm not just guessing where screws go. Everything is pre-drilled. So again, making sure the top is flush. I just leave my finger there, just as I kind of guide it, just the way that I do it. Again, the 4 screws down this side. And like so. Now, flip it up onto what would be its face. You can see there's 3 screws from the bottom now that are going to screw into the back panel. There you go. You want these to be flush or just under flush. Don't tighten them, crank them way down. But in order for the thing to sit nice and level and flush when you're done, it does need to be flush in place. So there you go. Now you've got back, sides, and bottom. Fairly simple up to this point. Now with this guy, here comes the front. So again, the front is going to sit inside of those points. And then the same thing, flush at the top. And we're showing the screws. It's a bit repetitive, but we are showing you each and every step as we go through, unedited and all the way through. Same thing with this side. I will point out with the screws, we do because obviously they're manually counted, we send 3 extra screws, just in case something gets lost or in case we make a mistake and miscount. That's just something we do. So if you have 3 at the end, you didn't miss anything. There's supposed to be 3 extras. If there's less than 3 extras, we miscounted. That's not your fault. And if there's more than 3, either we really messed up counting or you missed a couple somewhere. But yeah, so flip it onto its back. We're gonna go from the bottom with these 3 pre-drilled holes here. And notice this one's pretty dusty. Yours will be wiped down and blown off with air before it gets boxed up and comes to you. But our shop is, it gets messy in here based on the CNC. So, all right, so now we have everything but the top. This is still free opening. We don't have the latches on there yet, but I like to leave those until the end. So now this is a good time to seal it. Now, when it comes to the like PVC itself, doesn't absorb water itself, but where we've made these joints where we've attached them, the chance of water coming through there is present. So what we do is we take Dynaflex 230, it's a white enclosure, so I've got white, but I use black for black, and you're just going to apply a small bead around the inside at the bottom so that it's nice and sealed there. Try and let you it is easiest to do this before the roof is on. As you can see, I actually use that for access at some point. But what I also do is I'll come up the sides where the, you'll be able to see it more on the back. But on the, I come up like so, just because I know there's going to be substrate in these, based on the high depth of substrate here. Just want to make sure you're not creating leaks. So this is a little extra that I do. Not 100% necessary, but it does help. These ones I like to do a little extra with my fingers just to make sure. I kind of watch the bead to make sure that it's spread evenly. If you don't think it has full coverage, tuck your finger in there and just give it a little bit more. All right, so last step. Now, last step of the actual screwing it together is the roof panel. If you are installing lighting on these, if you're doing grow lights, or if you're doing UV lights, or even a heat lamp or something in there, put it onto the panel before you put it on. It is a lot easier than trying to maneuver yourself inside of an enclosure that's not made for a human. So this one doesn't have any lights, so we are just going to be installing it. But if you do have to screw the lights on, and then the cords will come out the slots at the back. In our case, we are just going to put the top on, and you'll see that it does settle down into all of the rabbets all the way around. So now we're going to take our screws, and I find that it works best if you line up each of the front corners like so. And then I'll take my 3 across the front, and I'll actually just make sure that this is nice and flush. So just that little extra time while you're assembling it does make a big difference on how it looks at the end. So I find that just taking that extra minute helps. So you'll notice that everything's nice and flush. I'm going to do the back. It's the same as the front, obviously. So I won't have to do any crazy close-ups of it, but same thing. I'll line up one corner, make sure that's flushed in, line up the other corner. 3 across the back. Make sure if you have cords in, if you have the cords coming through, make sure they're actually in the slots so that you're not squishing them. But the slots are small. You're not going to get an animal coming out of them, but they are big enough that you can actually have the cord itself. So. In my case, we did not count the extra 3, I can see, but we used all of the screws. So, the last stage that we're going to look at is the most difficult to explain on paper, and which is why we're doing more of these videos, because we're trying to make this easier for the end user. So, here's our latches. It's got a latch and the tongue and a screw. So, on the back, I take a Phillips screwdriver and I take the tongue off the back. Both of them. So you'll notice that this is an oblong hole, and it does in fact fit this way or 180 degrees that way. Either way, doesn't matter, it works both ways. So you're gonna get that placed in. Oh, I should show you this. On the back side of the nut, there's little nubs. The nubs are actually for locking it to the acrylic, just to make sure that it stays nice and snug. This is a 7/8 socket. You can use a metric equivalent, which I believe is 24, or you can use a set of pliers. Just be careful you don't scratch up the acrylic. But yeah, tighten that guy up. Same with the bottom one. We'll give them each. So the same thing with the detents going towards. Sometimes they don't like to go on exactly how you want, so just pull it back off. Try again. Because for some reason, sometimes they like to go to fight you just a little bit. So there we go. So now what I do is I will turn them so that the tab, or the thumb point, is parallel to each side. This way that I have a nice consistent, all of the latches are the exact same. That's just something that I do. So when it's flat like that, I bring the tongue so that it's sideways, and then the indent on the tongue will actually come towards the acrylic. You'll see that the tongue has a slight, or a bend to it. So yeah, that goes back towards the acrylic, and put in the screw in the middle, tighten that by hand. These don't have to be crazy tight, just snug, like so. Close it, close. That's as simple as that. So then the basic operation, I mean, obviously your latch is nice and clean and easy. This one here, these ones here are laser cut, so you can actually see the polished edges. This one also has the front ventilation and the back ventilation, giving you good airflow from front to back. But yeah, this is the assembly for a 16 by 16 by 23. Thank you.